Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. So glad you joined us today to stay curious. It's April 4th, 2025, and got some news headlines where the polar orbiting Fram 2 crew made it back safely to Earth after a fabulous 4-day mission. I watched some of that and watched the splashdown here at the museum about 12:15 today over there in California. And I want to say hi to my buddy Marty Winkle, who's over there on our Streamlabs board over there. Marty, how you doing? How you been out to Space Center this week?
Been there Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and today.
All right.
Busy week.
Who's been out there today?
Um, Mike Good.
Oh, Mike Good. Yes, another Hubble spacewalker. Did he say he was jealous he wasn't invited to ShuttleFest?
They didn't ask him.
Oh, okay. Is even aware of ShuttleFest. Hopefully he is. And well, yes, we love the K Space Center, and our astronaut wrangler Nick Thomas is going to be involved in our ShuttleFest. And here's my slide for ShuttleFest there. We only have 15 tickets left. Okay, we have sold 110 slots. And one of the reason why is a person I have on the phone right now. Say hello, all of you ShuttleFesters and Stay Curious watchers, to Mr. Chris Calle. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Mark and Marty, how you guys doing?
We're good. Thank you for coming on a telephone conversation here, because you
I'm looking
did.
forward.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was about to say I'm looking forward to being on live next week when I'm down in Florida with you guys.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you all, and all of you that are coming. And I know there's probably about 15 of you watching the show today that'll be coming. You're going to have unveiled today a new piece of artwork that Chris Calle has done exclusively. He commissioned it himself for ShuttleFest, Chris. What was the what are we going to see? I'm going to tease everybody with some of your other beautiful artwork, but let me put the slide up there of you. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up and why you became an artist and what kind of art you like doing.
Sure. Many of you know I grew up on the East Coast in Connecticut. My father, Paul Calle, was a very well-known space artist. I kind of followed in his footsteps with a career in illustration and designing postage stamps. And then today I am painting and drawing the history and future of space exploration.
And he's doing it in a very beautiful, stylized way, much like his self-portrait there. On there, following his dad's legacy. We've talked about the Callies on many programs on Stay Curious. So go on our YouTube channel where there's over 900 Stay Curious episodes. Google Calle and you'll be entertained for a few hours. Yes, Chris.
Sounds good. I was just going to say that, I paint traditionally, oil paints and acrylic, the pencil drawings, but also I'm working on these, I call them montage paintings. It's a combination of painting, drawing, photography, applying things like Kapton foil, mixing it up in Photoshop, then printing it on canvas and painting on top of it, drawing on top of it. So it's kind of an interesting process that, for me, is reminiscent of the artist Robert Rauschenberg back in the 1960s, who, like my father, also was part of the NASA Fine Art program. And his artwork has always been a real inspiration for me. I look back at some of my early pieces I did in college, and a lot of it had that same inspiration. Without knowing it, I was inspired by Rauschenberg, always inspired by my father and people like Bob McCall and Chesley Bonstall. But Robert Rauschenberg, with this kind of layering, he was pre-Photoshop. He was doing these things as original lithography on big lithographic presses. But my pieces are just, I just imagine, what someone like that would be able to do with Photoshop, and now with, my gosh, AI and all the different computer programs you have. So
well, we're showing three of your, as you're speaking there, our viewers are seeing three of your beautiful montages there, the Kennedy-centered moon speech one, the launch of Apollo 11. Actually, that's 16, I believe you depict there with
Yep.
uh,
16.
with
That's
Charlie
interesting.
Duke live there, and then of
Yeah.
course the one behind me, folks, is really beautiful. Von Braun and Kennedy in a classic pose there, and he's got a lot of hidden things in these pictures that artists call Easter
Well,
eggs.
Well, and one of those hidden things in the Apollo 16 Charlie Duke piece, I did that for the Apollo 16. What was it? I guess the 50th anniversary. The Astronaut Scholarship Foundation had an event in Houston that I was part of, and I displayed 3 or 4 of my Apollo 16 pieces, as well as at the San Diego Air and Space Museum. They had an event there as well, and I believe it was in San Diego where Charlie and Dottie Duke were there. Charlie and his wife Dottie. And I asked Charlie, hey, would you mind signing the painting? And I said, I don't want you to autograph it. I don't want your autograph on it. I want your signature to kind of become part of the artwork. And he said, yeah, sure. And so you can't see it in here, and you barely can see it on the original, but going vertically from his all the way on the left near his shoulder, he signed really big in gold ink. And we both looked at it, and we kind of looked at each other, and we were like, you can't see it at all. I wanted it to become part of it, and it didn't. And I said, well, why don't you sign it right here? And I pointed above the earth, and you can see just a little bit there that you see a signature. But he said, what do you want me to say? And I said, I don't know. Think of something. There's there's your family portrait that you left on the moon. And he thought for about 10 seconds, and then he took the pen, and what he wrote was, I love my family. And he put an arrow pointing to that family portrait, and then he signed his name. And I thought that was like so cool. And then Dottie was watching, and I said, Dottie, can you sign this too? And she's like, you want me to sign it too? And I was like, yes, please. And so she signed the original also.
Well, just like our museum, Chris Calle's artwork full of stories of our historical American space program there. That's beautiful. Where'd you get your education for everybody?
At the great University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, Michigan. That team that constantly beats the team from the South that remains nameless.
Well, I am sorry you didn't get a very good education. That thought your dad might be able to afford something a little better there, but did the best you could, I guess, there. And seemed like you learned well there.
Go Blue, Dave Stange. Go Blue,
Yeah.
Dave Stange.
Yeah, well, I actually have my scarlet on here, and a little touch of gray
Yeah,
maybe on my U.S. Space Force shirt here. That
maybe on your beard, Mark.
yeah, gray. That's right. That's it. I got my scarlet and gray with my beard and my shirt here. There you go.
Well, I'm wearing a University of Michigan sweatshirt right now.
Well, there, of course, the Big Ten is awesome, and we love kidding each other, and this is where we've had so much fun getting to know each other, Chris and myself. And Chris was brought to me by the Usiak brothers, and then Chris introduced me to Mitch Rothman and everyone else that just falls into place. Chris, this is what our ShuttleFest is all about, as you well know. Chris is sort of like my fellowship chairman to make sure that people are going to have a lot of time just to sit down and visit with each other like they did at Space Fest, a very popular convention that was held in Tucson every year by the Kim and Sally Poor family. And Kim Poor, an awesome artist who died not too long ago. And
well, Mark, you bring that up, and I keep telling everyone that Space Fest was amazing. There's no doubt about that. And one of the it was very similar to ShuttleFest in the sense that there are talks about science and space. There's art, and there's astronaut signings. And this year at ShuttleFest, that's going to be very similar. But the one thing that truly made Space Fest great was what you're talking about, the fellowship. I mean, every evening, after all the events of the day, everybody would go out and sit by the fire pit and have a drink and some snacks and talk and just talk and talk and talk. And so many people, so many friends in the space community so many people are friends of mine now through Space Fest. And I see a lot of familiar names on the list of people saying they're going to be attending ShuttleFest now. And I think that's I think ShuttleFest is going to be the go-to event for space enthusiasts in the future because everyone is looking for a place to go, looking for a place to talk, reminisce, talk about the past, talk about the future. And I really firmly believe, I get excited every time I talk to people about ShuttleFest. I think going forward, that ShuttleFest is going to be the place to be. Titusville is going to be the place to be. Cocoa Beach is going to be the place to be.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. He's been a big help in help us create what he exactly says, a fellowship of space lovers, and given homage to the shuttle industry, the 3 decades that changed our lives. And then, if the astronauts want to show up, to me, that's a big icing on the cake, of course. So got our back, our green screen is the Hyatt Place. That's actually a Starlink satellite launch that went about straight up that I photographed over it one day. We're going to see some pictures of the Hyatt Place where all of you will be studying, staying, and so forth. When we say goodbye to Chris here, he's got a limited amount of time to be with us today. But Chris wanted to say a lot of people commenting and glad to hear you on there. None of my daughters watching today with McKinley and Macy, my granddaughters. Everybody can't wait to come, including Steve Jokums and Man Space. Mitch Rothman says, great to hear you. And this next photo I'm going to show, Marty, is, let's go that way to show it, is this beautiful photograph of Ed White's EVA on Gemini 4. Mitch Rothman of Man Space says he has the limited edition canvas proudly displayed in his office right now. So, and as far as you getting me knowing so many people like Carlton Bailey, Carlton says we're going to blame it all on the UCX. And you just paid homage to Lancaster, Pennsylvania the other day, did you not?
I did, and actually I drove out to Lancaster. I saw both Mark and Tom Usiak. I dropped off a couple of boxes of limited edition prints that Mark will be driving down when he drives down for ShuttleFest, including a limited edition of this Gemini 4 spacewalk painting that I
Look
did.
Look at that beautiful spacewalk there. Chris has got a tremendous technique that I as a photography-oriented artist. This Ed White picture, less than a fifth of the picture is Ed White, and then not even half of it is the Earth, and then half of it's just the black void of space with that thin blue line. And I know that's an artist technique, and I think it's very effective on this beautiful.
Well, I mean, I got the idea to do this from the person who photographed Ed White, Jim McDivitt. Jim and I became very good friends, and I told him I was going to be working on this painting, and we talked about that blackness, that big void, and he said Ed was brilliantly bright against the Earth, but it was really dark behind them, and it just it's a perfect way to show them, with that vastness of space.
That's awesome.
And actually, Jim had given me, I don't know if I told you, Mark, but Jim had given me some small pieces, about 1 by 1 inch of silver, solid silver, sterling silver, that he flew on the Gemini 4 mission. And I had scraped down one of those pieces, and I painted that. I mixed that within the paint of Ed White's umbilical cord. And before I did that, I talked to Alan Bean. I gave Alan a call, and I said, we were talking, and I said, hey, listen, I'm working on this painting. I was talking to Jim, and I'm thinking about scraping some, the silver and mixing it in the paint, kind of like you've done with some of the things in your painting. And, I don't want to step on your toes or anything, but, Jim and I thought it'd be really cool to do. And he was like, oh, Chris, somebody's got to carry on this tradition. And as far as I'm concerned, that's you. So I felt like Alan kind of anointed me. So I've included some Kapton foil and heat shield, dust, and a number of paintings that I've done. But this was this painting photographed by, the photograph is, like I said, from Jim McDivitt, another proud graduate of the University of Michigan.
There you go, a Wolverine. Okay.
A Wolverine.
Yeah. Chris is very humble. Of course, he's been anointed by different astronauts. for his work and so forth of depicting things. Let's look at a couple other ones. Here's Gene in a collage of Apollo 17. Gene Cernan, who has passed away, with that dirty spacesuit photo taken of him by just grimy as all can be get out, taken by Harrison Schmidt, who is still alive on there. I like that one a lot. We're going to show you for the first time now a world premiere photograph of Chris Calle's here, inspired by ShuttleFest. So, but he also took this picture, this famous picture of Gene on the moon, that is and has made it his own from the photograph, with the Earth behind there. And in fact, this very photograph that you look at it twice, many of you, and go, well, that's the photograph that we see. No, that is a meticulously detailed image by Chris Calle of this. And Emily Carney and Bruce McCandless II used it for their cover of their Starbound book. And they will be at ShuttleFest to autograph this book. I've got plenty of them in my office for you guys to buy up there. So, and
I'll be happy to sign the cover.
There you go. We'll be happy to have you do that. But I've not dove into this book except looked at a couple things, about it. But I certainly, after ShuttleFest, will be doing a lot of reading as I take about a 3-month vacation on the beach somewhere to recoup. But thank you, everyone, for watching today. Yep. Go ahead, Chris.
I think what it is when you look at Starbound, it's really hard to open it up because you just want to keep looking at that cover.
Yeah, it is. It is. And in fact, let's just take the cover off and throw the book away. All right. Who needs the book?
Well,
just toss that book in the trash there.
Edit that out of this broadcast.
Exactly. Of course, Chris is a multimedia artist. His pencil sketching, that was a forte of his father, is great. And if you want to know about their artwork, where do we go to see you and your father's artwork?
You can go on the internet and you can Google our website, www.callespaceart.com. It's the old version of our website. We have a new version that hopefully will be rolling out in a month or two, completely revamped. The old one was it's a little hard to navigate. It has a lot of information, a lot of imagery on it, almost too much. But so we've been redeveloping the new one, and it looks fantastic. It really does. And actually, the homepage has that Gemini 4 spacewalk painting.
Excellent, Chris. We've got a question from Marty for you, or from one of our guests.
Hang on a second. Wait a minute.
Yes.
I've got an audio problem here.
Okay, Chris, Dave Stagg is asking, did you ever find out if the Earth was reflecting in his visor?
I don't believe that the Earth was reflecting in Gene Cernan's visor in this one.
Okay. He's got the Earthrise behind there. So, good question.
Right,
Stangy's wife Julie's even watching. They're new grandparents, so they just become grandparents, so they can't leave their family to come down to it. It's just killing him. But you met them both last year, and we'll look forward to seeing you all at ShuttleFest V on there.
And Marty, there's another painting I did of Gene Cernan called "Last Man on the Moon." It's kind of waist up. He's holding the flag, and we don't want to talk about it now because Mark can't pull up the image. But I've got a great story about Gene Cernan and the reflection in the visor of that painting. So we should do a.
Well, why don't you tell us personally about that when you'll be here in our studios next Thursday?
I will, and we can pull up the image.
He's coming in Thursday, as so many of you are, and we'll have a big love fest in here Thursday, okay? And then Friday, I haven't thought it through real well, but we'll probably go live just for a little mayhem before we open the doors at 6 o'clock for an evening with Joanne Morgan. So those of you ShuttleFesters, I'll be in touch with you this weekend with our agenda as we do a mass mailing there. Well, we're enjoying talking to Chris Calle. He's in Connecticut. What town in Connecticut? Tell everybody.
I live in Ridgefield, Connecticut.
Ridgefields, Connecticut. All right.
Ridgefield.
You said Rickfields or Rich?
Ridge.
Oh, Ridge.
Field.
Okay, Ridge Field. Okay. And what time on Thursday? Man Space is saying. Well, we go live at 4 o'clock every day, and so we'll definitely do a Stay Curious on Thursday and Friday. So
We can Mark Usiak and I'll be on. We'll do a little dog and pony show.
that's right. That's right. All right. Let me go to the next image here, and this is your 3 images of his Earthrise that Chris has stylized with Starry Night in the middle, Van Gogh's famous painting, and then another Hubble image on the right that is quite beautiful and popular with the reds and blues in there, and great contrast. What I like when you see these paintings up close, you notice that Chris has put some little footprints in some of the craters in there that or at least I can make the impression that they are footprints there. And there's his.
I'm going to let you believe. I'm going to let you believe what you want to believe. How's
there
that,
you
Mark?
go. That's right. That's what an artist does. Is allows people to see things that they do. But I really give you a lot of credit for that beautiful lunar landscape, folks. Doesn't that just look like a lunar orbiter photograph or lunar reconnaissance orbiter photograph?
You know, some of the paintings I do are, well, most of the paintings I do are thick with paint, you know, heavy impasto with paint, because I really like the feel, you know, when I put that brush down, when it's loaded with paint on it, and you get some really interesting brush strokes, and you can put things in, like this was a painting called Touched by the Moon, and then I added these various different backgrounds to some of them. It was called Touched by the Moon, and I included lunar meteorite shavings. A friend of mine sent me some shavings from the lunar meteorite, and I mixed those in the paint. I should show a detail sometime. You could see some of these pieces. They almost look like little pieces of shaved metal. Very interesting. But when I came up with the idea of doing this one painting, Touched by the Moon, and then just adding many different backgrounds. And at first it was, you know, images from Hubble, and then I thought of, hey, why not Starry Night? I think that would look really interesting in the background of this, and I think it does. I used Gustav Klimt's, what's it called, The Lovers, I think. One I'm working on that I was hoping to have done by ShuttleFest, and I may have for the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. I've incorporated Hokusai, the Japanese woodblock printer, the Wave, the very famous image of the Wave. In Japan. So I enjoy putting the imagery of space behind these Touched by the Moon pieces, but also just historical things that I find interesting. So I think it's kind of a fun exercise, just adding different backgrounds.
Well, he's a master at it. I think I know the wave you're talking about, and the Japanese artist Nakano. Does Nakano use the wave? Have I seen that on?
No, well, maybe he's used the wave on something. That's a little different. Nakano's more contemporary than Hokusai. But
well, that's why I love guys like I love artists. I love musicians, though I'm not a good one at either one, because I love to learn. And Chris has turned me on to this Japanese artist named Nakano, who draws things on postal covers that are quite unique. And so, got a couple questions there. I know you wanted to try to get out here by 4:30, and we're one slide away from.
I got 10 minutes.
We're one slide away from revealing the world premiere of some new artwork by Chris Calle that you're gonna love. Marty, what's those questions for Chris?
Okay, we have a question from Chris Feely. Any chance that re-upping the Lit Boosters t-shirt?
Oh, so the T-shirts of Power to Go. That's a painting my father did of the Saturn V rocket, Apollo 8 Saturn V rocket, which actually was astronaut Bill Anders' favorite painting. He actually brought that when he was the ambassador to, I think, Norway. Was it Norway? He actually brought that painting with him to the residence.
Wow!
Along with a couple of Frederick Remingtons and some other paintings. Because at that time, I guess, if you're an ambassador, you could bring artwork from the National Gallery or from the Smithsonian, and he chose Power to Go. And I have a great photo Bill and my father at Bill and Valerie's house in San Diego, where we gave Bill one of the prints, a big print. It's like 48
Well,
by
let's show that for
50.
Chris on next Thursday also.
Okay.
And we don't have
Yeah,
any
sure.
plans for that. It was a very popular, it's orangey and red. And in fact, that's the one
Yep.
that's what, 3 stories, 2 stories tall at the Rocket Center in
Yes.
Huntsville. And,
Yep, they enlarged that 3 stories as you walk, or 2 stories as you walk up the stairs to go to the Saturn V Center, where they have the Saturn V suspended from the ceiling. And actually, the Stafford Museum used Power to Go as imagery for their new wing. All of the descriptive kiosks and things have that imagery, and the walls have that imagery.
okay.
All over.
The Tom
Yeah, they
Stafford
had,
Museum, a great one, in Weatherford Museum, just about an hour
Yeah,
west
terrific.
of Oklahoma City. I've been there several times,
Yeah.
but not since that new wing. I see where Mark
Yeah, Tom and
Thel
my
is
dad were
asking.
really good friends.
Mark Thel's got a good question about ShuttleFest. Yes, there will be name tags, and they're already printed up, Mark. I saw
All right.
yours and your guests, or a blank space for your guests to put in there.
Hey, and back to Chris Feely's question about the T-shirt for Power to Go. Ask him, tell him, Chris, if you're still watching, you can text me or message me. I definitely would personally be interested in making some more of the T-shirts, and perhaps I can get a group of 20 or 30 people who want them, and we could just make a special run.
Yep, we sold that one. We sold your dad's your Gemini spacewalk, and then your dad's pencil sketch of Neil Armstrong was on white, very popular.
Yep.
And we got our T-shirt guy. He's got everything there. I was thinking about trying to do some of that, maybe even for next ShuttleFest. Have more some artwork on T-shirts like yours. So let's show Chris. Let's show another great work of Chris's that I like a lot. Chris's. This is your montage of the shuttle era with the Mercury 7 below, the crew of what crew is that? Is that that's the Glenn crew?
I think it was. Is it maybe STS 95?
Yeah, 95. The John Glenn crew on there. Got the moonwalk, all kinds of little hidden things in there. Beautiful, of course, image backdrop there. And is that Challenger? Is that the orbiter that's roaring away there? And
this was actually I did this for one of the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation Space Rendezvous weekends, and the idea was using the Mercury 7 kind of as the main image with the shuttle, and each of the presidents of ASF were included there. Jim Lovell, Charlie Duke, Kurt Brown, Al Warden. Is that Owen Gary maybe, and Dan Brandenstein. So in this montage, I kind of included, each of them without kind of having them just standing out with their portraits or something. And the other interesting thing for Easter egg hunters, in almost everyone, I'm sure, of my montage paintings, I include my father's thumbprint, because back when he was an illustrator, even when he was an artist after his illustration career, his stationery was his thumbprint. That was the logo on his thumbprint. And so
really? That's interesting.
Sort of my homage to him as an inspiration that I included. And sometimes you can barely see it at all. If you didn't know it was in there, you wouldn't know what it was. But I know it's in there, and that's why I include it.
So what Chris did on this, just to make clear and reiterate, Kurt Brown was the president of the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. He's the commander of STS 95. You've got Owen Garriott is doing his spacewalk on Skylab in the upper left-hand corner.
Correct.
He was on the board, and so forth. I think the astronaut on the moon is that
Charlie Duke.
Charlie Duke on the moon. So that's how he represented these board members of the fabulous Astronaut Scholarship Foundation, led by wonderful Caroline Shoemaker. They're becoming
Yep.
friends
Shout
of
out
our
to Caroline.
museum. Caroline, a big help to me at this year's ShuttleFest. She'll be attending some of the events. And then the last weekend, May, is their big event to indoctrinate this two astronauts this year, but only Bernard Harris is going to be there, Chris, because Peggy Whitson's probably going to be orbiting the Earth or getting ready to on the fourth mission for Axiom.
How cool is that?
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to try to talk to her if she's orbiting the Earth or
Right,
some way there.
right.
So, the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation, founded by the original Mercury astronauts to provide education scholarships for engineering students going into space engineering, particularly. They've given away millions of dollars, and we're going to have the latest scholarship winner on Stay Curious, booked with Caroline on the Monday after ShuttleFest, the 14th.
Great.
So
Great,
look forward to
great.
that. Well, y'all ready for?
I'll have some of those that previous one image as prints at Space Fest
Great,
at ShuttleFest.
absolutely, and and you can still get tickets to the Astronaut Hall of Fame Foundation. It's a lot more than $90 for ShuttleFest, but well worth it there. So, little drum roll there as I'm drumming my fingers on here. You folks are going to see the world premiere of Chris Calle's new piece of artwork. He's done 4 or 5 new original pieces for ShuttleFest, but this one, are you ready? 3, 2,
I am.
1. Bingo.
Ta-da.
Ta-da! Eileen Collins, featured masterfully by the master Chris Calle, 3 panels of the shuttle launch, courtesy of Mark Utsiak and his brother Tom.
Yep.
And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller here so that you can see in the bottom is where all his little hidden meaning and Easter eggs and stuff like that is in there. But there it is. Chris Calle's new work of art that he commissioned himself for Eileen Collins. And of course, you do paid commissions for people. Anybody out there got something in mind that they'd like Chris to put together for them? We can get in touch with you there. But I know she's going to love this. She's a beautiful lady. You've met her many times. So have I. She's just, and this is a woman that they called Mom, was her nickname, Mom. Everybody called her Mom. She definitely ruled the roost, though, ruled the household, so to speak, as a first female pilot ever in any of the space programs on Earth, and then the first commander female of a spaceship. And she did it twice. She did both those twice, 4 missions, and she loves to talk about it. She wrote her book about it, Breaking the Glass Ceiling. We can't wait to have her at ShuttleFest because, as Chris knows, this venue is very intimate and you're going to be bumping into people, all right? And you may step on her toes accidentally. But Marty, you've been around her also. I don't know if you got anything to say about her, but what do you think of Chris's new piece of artwork here?
I love it.
I have met Eileen several times, but I don't know that well other than to interface with her getting autographs and pictures. But I think I like this probably better than any other Chris Calle painting. I really like it.
And I got that $50 bill in my hand, Chris, that I'll give you when I see you next week. Actually, Marty's picking you up at the airport. He can hand you his own money there. But no, it is. The man has a way with the cosmos. I love that. I like his themes right now. And I do know artists like myself they don't get stuck on a subject. They evolve into a subject like you have with these cosmic backgrounds and your montages. And, I predict, one day he'll say, I've got enough of this style, and he'll go on to something else. So enjoy him while he's cranking them out, folks.
Well, and hardly cranking them out. It's time-consuming.
That's right.
Fun. This one, and I did another one of Eileen that you'll see. I'll have prints of also, which is more just her, a launch and an image of her in the Air Force. But these ones I've done with Eileen, with the exception of one that I may or may not have ready for ShuttleFest, these are more graphic in imagery, not as much kind of painting or drawing on top of it as I've done with other ones. This was more done, with different blending patterns and things like that, but still montaging different elements, layering them on top of each other. So it's the same but different than other things I've done in this genre.
Connie McDaniel, our ace volunteer and co-chair of ShuttleFest, says it's beautiful, Chris. And
Thank you, Connie.
So Robert Law said he's met her a couple times when he was here. Robert Law is anxious to meet you and shake your hand, and he's bringing all those British pounds that he can with him to buy your artwork and books and stuff, I'm sure. So can't wait to see you, Robert Law. Seems like I think I met Robert like 7 years ago here at the museum. Dean Babcock's got now I just want to say there's a lot going on down here on the bottom, okay? And sorry that I'm kind of cutting it off here when we go large on it there. But Marty, maybe you can take the name off the bottom there and they can see it a little bit better. Chris's name off the bottom.
Yeah, it's kind
Completely there, and then you see. So we've got, that's okay. I've got a question I see, Marty.
Question from, who was it? Oh, Dean Babcock.
How
How long did it take to paint this piece, Chris?
Oh, I have the most beautiful answer for that, and it's an answer that came from the mouth of my father. He was always one who said, you should never put a time limit on doing things. Whenever anyone would ask him, how long did it take to do this painting or that painting, he would say, a lifetime of experience.
A lifetime of experience, Dean Babcock.
And he said it's something else. Alan Bean. I remember Alan Bean called, or we were at a show one time, and Alan said to my father, Paul, I want to do, and he had a number of paintings. Like he wanted to do 60 paintings or 80 paintings in his lifetime or whatever. And my father, I remember, like he would do, he took both hands, and he put both hands on Alan's shoulder, and he looked him right in the face and said, Alan, what you should want to do is do one masterpiece.
There you go.
It doesn't matter how many you do, just concentrate on one masterpiece. I always thought both of those phrases were wonderful.
Yeah.
But how long does it take? I don't know. It really, they all depend. Generally, I bet you 8 out of 10 times I'm working on one of those pieces and I think it's done, and I even maybe print it to start then painting on top of it. And then I get the print and I'm like, you know what? I want to add something. And I would add something, so I'd go back to it. So sometimes it's just a quick process. Other times it can take weeks.
Yeah,
so
and
we'll see what the next one brings.
When you're an artist, or even like a photographer like I was, yes, you might be able to put something together quickly, or it's very challenging to put it together. Either way, you're using your skill set of those decades of knowledge to come to that point. So,
sure. And that's really that was the crux of what my dad was saying.
Yeah,
a lifetime of experience where everything you've learned has brought you to this point.
Another question for Chris Calle.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mitch Rothman is asking Chris, can you comment on some of the detail in the painting?
Comment on some of the details of the painting.
Sure. And on this one, I actually had asked, let's see, so on the bottom, I believe, is Eileen in her Air Force days. There's an image of her floating in space during one of her early missions. I was curious whether Eileen had any interaction with Tereshkova, the first female ever in space, the Russian cosmonaut. And so I texted Jonathan Ward, who co-wrote the book with Eileen, to say, was there any, correspondence or anything? It turns out that I think Eileen, maybe it was the first time she was commander, she invited Tereshkova to the launch. So I believe she was at the launch. So I decided to add her in there. And then Jonathan also had mentioned that Eileen was very influenced in the WASP, from the WASP, the World War II, the women pilots. And so I included an image of them. And I'm not in front of that image now, so I'm trying to think of what else I included. I included my father's fingerprints. I know that.
Looks
Very
like
well.
the STS 114 walkout.
Oh, that's right, the walkout. That's right. And I believe that was a photograph taken by Tom Usiak.
Okay, and the aerial on the far left of a shuttle on a pad. That looks cool.
Right. I'm not. Yep. Yep. So it's a little bit mix of all of those things. There's another piece I did that I don't think we're going to show today, but I included an image of Eileen and her daughter. I included, again, the Wasps and Tereshkova. Wally Funk. I included Wally Funk, one of the original Mercury 13 women. Another image of Eileen floating in the International Space Station. But that's the beauty, for me, that's the beauty of this technique, where you're able to put, I could put Mark Marquette's portrait, his big smiling face hidden somewhere in here. Maybe I'll have to do that sometime. I'll hide you like a little Easter egg, Mark.
I'd love it. I've seen you as a little baby boy, or a little young boy, and some of your Easter eggs there.
In Supplement, I included a photograph of me with Gordon Cooper's Mercury gloves on my hand. That's right.
Well, here's the artist flow. To the untrained eye, the angles, the things that you're drawn to by this artist placing things, not randomly, but where he wants them. And the 3 liftoff shots by Mark Usiak are just, wow. They're just the things lifting off the page. I love it. And I hope you all are feeling that too on there. A lot of good reactions to this. Dean Babcock likes it. And you'll be able to buy copies of this at ShuttleFest. So again, get your piggy bank and start counting the money on there. But I know Eileen will love this. That just looks so beautiful.
I'm actually, she and Jonathan are going to be at NEAF up in Albany this weekend, and I know Mark and Tom Usiak are going to be there as well, and Ken Kramer, and I believe Gene, and I think I'm going to send a couple of these images to Jonathan, so that I'm sure he's going to see her tonight, so he can show her.
Excellent. Well, glad that you all are giving your approval, your artists, 2 thumbs up to this new artwork by our friend, a great partner of our museum now, Mr. Chris Calle.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much. I think
My pleasure.
we can't wait to see this real. I do have a question. Of course, you make prints off it. You're talking about putting meteorite shavings and pieces of spacesuit in your paintings, like Al Bean mixed up some moon dust in his base of his paintings. Do you keep the originals for later sale, or do you have someone who buys your originals?
Well, for some paintings, someone has commissioned it. They've given me an idea of what they want, and I've gone ahead and done a commission. Other ones, I just do a painting that I'm interested in working on, and then if someone is interested in buying it, then that's wonderful, and they can. So it really depends.
For example, Eileen might say, "I want to buy the original of that," for example. And of course, you would probably sell it to her for a fee, but
then I'll probably turn around and hand it to her.
There you go. Yeah. Well, there you go. That tells you how Chris is right there. He just handed it to her for nothing when you're looking at 6 figures to own this and put it in your home probably. So beautiful. It looks gorgeous, and certainly I think everyone enjoyed your conversation with your background, your paintings and so forth. Heck, we don't even need your face on here for eye candy. We'll just have you phone in all the time. How's that?
No worries. You know what? You don't need my face. Just show my artwork. What's that funny expression where I don't care what you write about me, just spell my name right?
Yeah, exactly. There you go. And it's Chris Calle, Calle. So proud that he's my friend, as all of you are on Stay Curious today. So, Chris, we're going to say goodbye to you. Great job.
Okay.
I'm going to take everyone through our first ShuttleFest real quick, and then get outside for a TGIF on a beautiful Chamber of Commerce evening here on Friday. And
Great.
in fact, I'm going to first Friday night outdoor street party at Cape Canaveral tonight, and have some fun and listen to some music, eat some heart unhealthy food, probably, and kick back a little bit as we get ready for you all to come to ShuttleFest. So next time we talk to Chris, it'll be right here beside me in our new studio. That this is the last show we're going to do in this studio. So, Chris, thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody next week, and some of you who are not going to be there, I will see you virtually next week when Mark Usiak and I are on the show on Thursday.
All right. Take care, my friend. Safe travels, and keep those paint brushes wet. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. That was Chris Calle on the phone there, doing it old school way. Once again, we're going to have Emily Carney and Bruce McCandless II's bestseller book here. It's really a hit book, and that is Chris's artwork on the cover there. You can get all three of them to sign that book. Thank you, Emily, for being on our board of directors. Marty, I'm going to kick into the that is a cool painting. I love it. I think that the elements are just unreal in that. So our inaugural ShuttleFest, okay, with a photo by Tom Usiak. This was all about honoring the space worker, okay? And it has snowballed from a one-day event into 3 days event. There's Chris right there in our studio with the Power to Go shirt on, by the way. There you go. If I'd have known, I forgot that was racked up there. But that's the shirt that you all were talking about, particularly Chris Feely. He's wearing the Power to Go t-shirt. This is the last show we're going to do in this space, as we're going right next door to a bigger room so I can have my office and the studio in there. And then our collection manager, Nick Enix, will use this as our little warehouse to stage stuff for a while until he turns it into another gallery. So good memories in this room, right, Marty? And we'll create some new ones in the next room in there. So we did not have these astronauts at ShuttleFest 1. Okay, wish we did, because Led Zeppelin was the favorite group of Robert over there on the left, who is the general manager at Hyatt Place. And there's Eileen Collins with Dana Lavoisier, who's the general manager. Robert retired early and went back home up in the New York area where Eileen was from. And Mark Usiak and I were there at the hotel for some reason, and we were looking at the launch viewing room you're going to see in a minute, which is on the 5th floor. And when we went down the elevator, it stopped at the 3rd floor, and bingo, out walks Eileen Collins. And so our jaws drop. We say hi, and I'm actually, at a little after this picture was taken, I said, I can't believe I'm saying this, Eileen, to an astronaut, but I've got to be at a Chamber of Commerce meeting in 15 minutes. So I got to say goodbye. She is so wonderful to talk to, so engaging. And Robert and Dana did such a great job at that hotel. You're going to love it. So thought I'd throw those pictures in there. And that's just how she is how she looks. She has a sister that lives in Orlando. She'll be visiting. But here were our astronauts at ShuttleFest 1 and then some. Story Musgrave on the left, the late Hugh Harris, who was the Master of Ceremonies. God rest in peace, Hugh. We miss you. Mike McCulley. Got Nicole Stott, Winston Stott, and launch director of 57 shuttles, Bob Seek there. And in the background there, behind Hugh's shoulder, is Mike Leinbach, and the late Jim Harrington is in the blue shirt there, obscured there with his Miami hat on, with Jim was visible there. And that's Terry White. Yeah, Marty just pointed Terry White over there by the bald head of Story Musgrave. We've asked Story to come. We found out through the grapevine he's supposed to be in Los Angeles, but then somebody told me he may crash us like Nicole and Story did. The only walk-ins allowed will be astronauts. We will take money for half-day rates on there. Thank you, Winston and Mike McCulley, for kicking us off. They are our go-to astronauts that have been so beneficial to the American Space Museum since way before I was here. And Hugh Harris died at age 90 a little over a year ago, and he did about a dozen Stay Curious episodes, the voice of NASA for decades, and involved with the Public Affairs Office. So that was a one-of-a-kind picture there. But when we're taking this picture, there's Hugh, one to tribute to him. Certainly do miss him, and great stories he had to tell. But there's the mosh pit, if you would, of the autographs of all those astronauts there at ShuttleFest. Mr. Tim Gagnon's on the left. Tim has done our shuttle shield, our official logo. There with the other camera is Tom Usiak in the black shirt there with the shiny top for his head there. So I see Tammy Miller there in the middle. And is that the Joseph Adams right there?
Yeah.
And Terry's in the background there. Everybody's getting pictures of these astronauts, so we can't wait to see this scene repeat. I see Dean Schaff in the back and Tim, another Tim back there. So we can't wait to see all of you again in a week. There was the panel of launch directors that we had the late Jim Harrington. He just passed away. So happy that we could give that University of Miami man some love. He was a real hidden figure of the shuttle management landing site. He created the system of landing the shuttle at California, how bringing it back on a 747, and then he engineered the only landing at White Sands with STS-3 that we celebrate in the month of March. And of course, Bob Seek and Mike Leinbach, excuse me, will both be at ShuttleFest. Bob will be on a panel Sunday morning with Jay Honeycutt, John Tribe, and Joanne Morgan talking about the good old days after we premiered Jay Honeycutt's A Brief History of Human Spaceflight multimedia presentation. You're going to enjoy that Sunday morning. And Mike will be Sunday afternoon on a panel with writer Jonathan Ward of his book, Bringing Columbia Home, and Eileen's book, of Breaking the Glass Ceiling there. And Hugh Harris had such a fun quip that he said, these three gentlemen, they total like 117 shuttle launches together, is what I reconnoiter. And Hugh got up there and said they've launched 3/4 of all the crewed missions in all eternity. And we got a big laugh out of that, didn't we, Marty? Just a great guy. And these all were great guys. So, little public relations love for the Hyatt Place. You know, I said to Marty, I said, you know, those palm trees are beautiful. And we're just kind of immune to looking at palm trees. We see them all the time. Like you all see maple trees maybe in your neck of the woods. But that's the Hyatt Place. The 405 going to Kennedy Space Center is over on that side. And over here on this side is the Boeing building of employees. That's the parking lot's getting thinner and thinner every time I drive by there, Marty. Robert Carmody was the general manager and retired. Dana Lavoisier is operations, now the general manager. They got a little nice fire pit out there. There's Winston Scott talking to a group of hoteliers that they had in there. A little special event that I arranged for Winston to do. There's our night shot that we use as the background with a Falcon 9 rocket streaking up overhead. We'll show you where you can see that launch. There's looking towards the breakfast area and the reception there as you walk in. Over in the back where the astronaut is, that's the entrance to the hotel. This is where Chris Calle will be set up and other vendors. And those of 22 of you that took up our rooms will enjoy food there. And then I've got food trucks. Here's what the bedrooms look like. Of course, these rooms range 230 to 275 a night, and more during the peak season. Of course, you got to have a swimming pool. Enjoy all these amenities of the pool, the fire pit. There's the Boeing building beside them over there, and then of course the workout gym. So it's got all of your amenities there, and hope that you all attending it can enjoy them. Conference room, again, not a huge conference room, hold about 100 people. That's why we limited ShuttleFest to 125 people. And no doubt we will be probably moving this to a bigger venue for ShuttleFest V, most likely the Hyatt Place, most likely the Hilton at Cocoa Beach, which I could have done this year, but I really like how this place has treated us, and I wanted to do one more there just because they just are good partners, and that's how I am. You have good partners, you want to honor them in there. There's Winston and Mike McCulley talking to the group there. There's Tommy Usiak right there. Keep Mike McCulley in your prayers. He's got a little bit of a medical issue going on, and as we all will when we hit our 80s. But what a great guy, and we'll let you know how that works out for him. Again, all of you that have been there, you can pick yourselves out. I'm looking for Daniel DeYoung, who there's Keith, 92-year-old Keith there on the side there. So we're going to have a lot of fun. The rainbow's going to shine over us. There we are looking out the launch viewing room. And that's where you're going to see the rocket launches. In fact, one pad's about over here where the rainbow is, and the other one's about in the middle in there. And there's the launch viewing room where we're going to have our VIP reception for our financial donors and the astronauts. And you look, the windows are on the left. This has Tom and Mark Usiak, and of course Nick Nolte, part of that, and Robert Preston, their 4-man team that did that. So we're going to enjoy a reception up there. They're again looking out that window at the vehicle assembly building. In that other hotel there is the Radisson, take it back, the Courtyard Marriott that Delaware North built, where it's astronauts of the day stand there. I see the cranes over there for the new 405. I forgot to say something to you, Marty. Life just goes on as we look at the Hyatt Place here for one last image. They finished the new bridge over the river. I think last week was the first time I drove over it. What a project, huh? And what a cool causeway bridge, Marty.
Yeah, they actually opened it up about, hang on a sec, I got to adjust my audio.
They actually opened it up about 2 weeks ago, Mark, and everything's done except for the landscaping and relaning the bridge.
Yeah. But I've been here long enough that was the last causeway bridge they made into a 4-lane bridge from 2, and actually it's 2 4-lane bridges on this side, extra, and 2 lanes going one way and the other lanes going the other, 2 separate bridges. They built it fast, but I couldn't believe this was the last one they did. It should have been the first one with all that traffic going out to Kennedy Space Center. But nonetheless, those of you that have been to Kennedy Space Center many times will always see improvements being made by Delaware North out there. So, well, hope you've enjoyed today's show. Didn't think it'd take all of an hour, but Chris said he had about 15-20 minutes, and he took 45 of it, and glad he did, and can't wait for you all to meet him face to face and see his artwork up close. So that will be Mark Thel. We'll be seeing him, as will Tom Usiak, Mitch Rothman, Steve Jokums, Carlton Bailey, Robert Law, Dean Babcock, Doug Forrest. All of you are coming to ShuttleFest there. Connie McDaniel, Michael Bruno was watching today. Mike, thank you, Michael. Dr. Keith Sewell was watching. Thank you. He's an astronomy educator in Arkansas. Chris Feely, Elana Adkahara, Julie Clay watching today, and Tom Celentano. Dave Stangy and his wife are watching. It's still time to book it. I'll sneak you in there. If Julie says, just get on that airplane and come on down here. The grandbaby's doing fine. And one last shout out to my daughter, Jessica. Love you and glad that you and the babies are doing fine. And looking forward to seeing you probably the week after ShuttleFest, Easter weekend up there in Tennessee. So watch out for those storms I see headed your way. So everybody, thank you so much for another great week of Stay Curious. Last time we'll be in this little small studio, go to a little bigger area of one of our galleries here. And those of you that come Friday at the museum, you'll be able to check that out. And of course, the museum will be open every night, Saturday and Sunday from 6 to 10 o'clock, just for those of you that want to Uber down or jump in my car and come down and check it out. So thank you, Marty. Anything to button up over there on our Streamlabs production?
Nope, we're all buttoned.
We're all buttoned up? All right. Well, you have a good weekend, Marty. We're all going to need a lot of rest and take a big, deep breath as ShuttleFest is right around the corner, and I can't wait to see you all. So until next time, I'm Mark Marquette saying, I can't wait to see you all again to bridge the space between us. Thank you so much.